may stand. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please remain standing for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Counsel Leary.
Here.
Counsel Mercier.
Here.
Counsel Milonazo.
Here.
Counsel Rourke.
Here.
Counsel Samaras.
Here.
Counsel Belanger.
Here.
Counsel Elliott.
Here.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yeah.
Counsel Leahy.
Here.
That's 9 present.
And Council Milonazo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer actually 2 moments of silence this evening. So I'd like to have a moment of silence in Docking Chambers for 2 former City of Lowell employees. The first, Frank Grady, retired city engineer who passed away on July 3rd at the age of 82. Frank was married to Ann M. Cooney Grady, who survives him and with whom he celebrated their 59th wedding anniversary in April. Frank attended Keith Academy, graduated in 1952, and went on to attend Northeastern University and the University of Massachusetts at Lowell, where he graduated magna cum laude with a degree in civil engineering. He actually was appointed the city engineer by the former city manager, Joe Tully, back in 1986, and he served in that position until 1998. Frank did an awful lot of good for the city while he was working as the city engineer. Again, he's survived by his wife of 59 years. He's also survived by Frank Jr. and 2 daughters, Anne Marie Grady Bell and Martha Abney, and 8 great-grandchildren, and Frank will certainly be missed. The second moment of silence in Docking Chambers is for Effie Routsis. Effie, too, is an employee of the City of Lowell. She passed away on Friday, July 7th. She was a lifelong resident of the City of Lowell. She graduated from the Lowell schools, graduated from Lowell High School, and then she worked for over 30 years here as an accountant in the City of Lowell Treasurer's Office. She's survived by her husband, Chris Routsis, of 60 years, who also was a city employee. 3 sons, Andrew, David, and Daniel Routsis, survive their mother, Effie. So again, I'd like to offer both Frank Grady and Effie Routsis for a moment of silence in Docking Chambers.
Thank you. Council Rourke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd also like to offer a moment of silence in Docking Chambers for Tasia Malamus Sumas, who 93 years old, who passed away on Tuesday, July 4th at her home with her family by her side. Mrs. Sumas was born on May 22nd, 1924 in Nashua, New Hampshire, a daughter of the late Peter and Georgia Malamus. She was a loving wife for 51 years to the late Theodore Sumas, whom she lost on October 21st, 2006. A lifelong resident of Lowell, Tasia attended the Lowell Public Schools. Prior to starting her family, she worked for over 16 years at the Leganis Shoe Company. She was devoted friend, wife, and mother. Mrs. Sumas loved her church, the Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Church in Lowell, where she was an active member, participating in the church choir, the Ladies Philanthropy Society, and many other church functions. Her greatest joy was gathering with her family and friends, especially on the holidays. Her home was open to all. She prided herself on cooking and baking during the holidays and also daily. She spent much of her life putting others ahead of herself and caring for those that were sick or in need. She will be remembered for her infectious smile. Her family would like to thank the Riverside Medical Group, Lowell General Hospital, Personal Touch, Circle Home Healthcare for the many years of care and compassion during her years of illness. A special thank you to Melissa Hynum of Elder Services of Lowell, who was by her side for continued support and guidance. She is survived by her 2 sons, John T. Sumas and Peter Sumas, 2 grandchildren, Tyler and Wayne Abreu, and also many nieces and nephews. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Mercy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence in Docking Chamber for Francis J. Barney Hovey, a lifelong resident of Lowell, beloved husband of the late Patricia Thompson Hovey, with whom he shared 66 years of marriage. Barney received his early education in the Lowell school system and attended Lowell High School. At age 18, he enlisted in the State Guard of Massachusetts, then enlisted in the United States Army in 1943, assigned to the 83rd Infantry Division, Company L. He participated in some of the fiercest battles of the war and fought in Normandy, northern France, Rhineland, Battle of the Bulge, and in Central Europe, where his division was the first to cross the Elbe River. He was awarded the Purple Heart, Bronze Star, European, African, Middle East Theater Campaign Ribbon with 5 battle stars and 1 arrowhead. He was a World War II member. He received the Victory Medal, Army of Occupation Medal, Meritorious Unit Emblem, Good Conduct Medal. In August of 2000, Barney was awarded the Medal of Liberty from the French government aboard the aircraft carrier John F. Kennedy. Most recently, he was awarded the Legion d'Honneur, the highest award given by the French government. He was honorably discharged in 1946. In 1947, Barney began working at the Boston and Maine Railroad, and many years later, he worked at Raytheon's in the print shop, retiring after 30 years. Barney was a longtime communicant of St. Margaret's Church. He was a very active member in the Veterans Affairs around the Merrimack Valley, volunteering thousands of hours as a proud and dedicated member of the Walker Rogers Post VFW 662 Honor Guard for 44 years, representing the city of Lowell at conventions, parades, square dedications, and funerals of fellow veterans. Barney held membership in the American Legion Post 212 in Chelmsford, Edith North Rogers Chapter 25, Disabled American Veterans, and most proud of his membership in the VFW Walker Rogers Post 662. Barney Hovey was a great American, devoted husband, dedicated father, proud grandfather who will always be remembered for his love for his family and country and his never-ending contributions as a member of the greatest generation. In May, Barney Hovey was one of the first recipients of the Walter Bayless Veterans of the Month Award and received recognition in the mayor's reception room and in these council chambers. He was a remarkable gentleman and a very dear friend to many. He is survived by 2 daughters, Kathleen Hagan and Pamela Dakota, and her husband, John Dakota, and 1 son, George Hovey, and his wife, Maureen, as well as 8 grandchildren, 25 great-grandchildren, 5 great-great-grandchildren, and a daughter-in-law, Deborah Hovey Dakota. He was the father of the late Raymond Hovey. We send our condolences to his family, relatives, and many friends. He will be truly missed, and we thank him for his service. Thank you.
Thank you.
I could just say everything about Mr. Barney Hovey. Just quickly, everything that Council Mercier said shows this man was an extraordinary individual. He was a hero. But what he was in his later years coming back to Lowell was equally as wonderful. He was a great neighbor, a great person who epitomized what family was like, and why family was important. This is an individual who cared about the children in his neighborhood and was a good neighbor. This is someone that, when you look up to people, this is what we should all try to be. A lot like Barney, not only fighting in World War II, but coming back to this city and going to work, but just being a good citizen afterwards and being really what a leader is. This is the life of a leader. Thank you.
Thank you. Next order of business is under the mayor's business, a communication from the Lowell School Committee from a special meeting of June 28th. We have 4 registered speakers on this. Basically, the communication asks that the City Council reconsider the putting a referendum on the ballot concerning the high school. Mr. Clerk.
Onestos Omeni. John Breen.
Good evening, Mayor Kennedy and members of the City Council. My name is Jack Breen and I live at 49 Daniel Street. As this council knows, it voted 5-4 in favor of the Colley option. The school building committee voted 9-9 in the deadlock. The school committee was the only committee to have a clear, definitive decision, voting 5-1-1 in favor. Sorry, I'm just a little shooken up.
That's okay, just take your time.
The school committee was the only committee to have a clear, definitive decision, voting 5-1-1 in favor of the downtown option. Yet we're still unsure who has the final say, the school committee or the council. This council is also aware of how divisive this issue is within our community. The entire Lowell community has expressed huge interest in this matter as well. Many Lowellians have become active in the community because of this issue. With this decision having such a huge impact on the city socially and economically, it shouldn't be taken lightly, especially when all elected bodies are so divided and have no clear consensus. If the council wants to truly unite the city and have a definitive decision, I ask the council to consider the school committee's request to put the high school question on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Onestos Omeni.
Apologize. We just ran in. Good evening, Mayor Kennedy, Mr. City Manager, members of the council. As you know, earlier in June, the council voted 5-4 with regard in favor of not pursuing and looking into a petition that would put the question of the location of the high school on the ballot. Tonight, I would implore the council to reconsider their votes taken earlier in June. As many of you know, it is still unclear whether the utmost authority in making this decision lies within the city council or within the school committee. That is still a matter going back and forth between our own city officials and the state. As we debate over the nitty-gritty, there are people in the city, people who will arguably be most affected by this issue, who know little about the impact this decision will have on their community and on their education. Additionally, as the council continues to field complaints and hear expressions of people stating that they don't represent their interests and understand their experiences, I would ask you to listen and to take this opportunity to give the decision to the people. This is an opportunity for you to ensure that all citizens have the information they need and understand exactly how this will impact their community. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Ellen Collins.
Good evening. My name is Ellen Collins, and I live at 212 Parkview Avenue. Thank you for hearing me. I'll be quick. I'm here to support the referendum on the location of Lowell High School, putting it on the ballot, for two real reasons. One, the city is divided, and the location of the high school affects different groups of people in Lowell very differently. The real estate owners in the downtown have one set of issues, and I certainly can appreciate the desire of people to redevelop the downtown area. But students who use youth service agencies downtown have a different set of issues. My aunt's old neighbors who live in the area of Colley have yet a different set of issues because a tributary of Trull Brook runs under the Colley site. There are enormous groundwater issues. There's a floodplain, and the question is, are they going to be flooded if you put a huge building and lots of parking out at Colley? So this division, many people have different views. The division is painful. A referendum is a way to unite the city. And it's a way for the city's, conflicting bodies, the city council and the school committee, to kind of come together and resolve their differences. The second reason I believe that we need a referendum is that I believe that the school committee ultimately has to approve the high school and its location. After I read an article in the Lowell Sun describing the city solicitor's opinion to the effect that Chapter 70B preempts Chapter 43, among other things, I have spent a fair amount of time doing the legal work I was trained to do, sorting through statutes, regulations, et cetera, trying to figure out what the intent is. And I firmly believe, after the result of that analysis, as an attorney who did lots of securities work where, authorization, was a big question, that Chapter 70B and Chapter 43 can be read consistently and should be done so. And in fact, the regulations passed by the Massachusetts State Building Authority recognize this when they refer to local votes and require that the project be vetted under the city's charter, which after the approval of Plan E is now in Chapter 43, which clearly gives the school committee the right to approve the location of the high school and prevents the acceptance of any plans with respect to the high school without the school committee's approval. The school committee voted to the effect that it didn't approve Cawley as a location. And I think the city needs to revisit this. I mean, the regulations call for local votes, and Chapter 43 is what determines the local votes. So under my reading, you need the school building committee to make a recommendation, and then you need the approval of the city manager and the school committee. So for those two reasons, I believe that this should go on the ballot, and in the meantime, people should get true cost estimates for the cost of the school to the city of Lowell. And those, i.e., the city's share after being reimbursed by the state, by the MSBA, under a facilities grant, plus all of the costs that are ineligible for reimbursement, including, among others, the enormous infrastructure cost to make the Cawley land buildable, the takings costs for all of the businesses along Rogers Street, and I believe their zone regional retail, the most desirable, the takings costs for the amount of land that's going to be required, I'll wrap up, to widen Rogers Street and install sidewalks throughout Belvedere. I appreciate the opportunity to address you, and I hope that you will put it on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Armin Hebert.
Armin Hebert, 499 Wilder Street. Been through this high school thing for 2.5 years now. I think it was laid out perfectly fine how this process was to go. They were going to assign a building committee, do a feasibility study. It was all voted on. And if the city manager and every counselor here hasn't heard, the city manager, quote, that the city council has the final vote on this, no matter what happens. There should have, my opinion, I thought there should have been a new school downtown put into that mix. I didn't have a vote. You 9 councilors had your vote. I don't think anybody in this room here of you 9 councilors were intimidated, were anywheres sacrificed your dignity to make your vote as you did. The vote went down as it did, 5-4 for Colley site. Do I agree with it? Not my choice to make. But that's the way it was set out right from day one, that the council would have the final vote on it. If this city doesn't bring this together, if I was down at the MSBA, down at the builders, I wouldn't give you anything because you can't even get this right. You know what? You're looking, this city needs a new school no matter what. The vote was in, people lost, people won. You know who's going to be the big winner when this school gets done? The children of the future, not us, not the people of the past. We've got to look forward to the city to build for the future. Everything can be worked out. This thing's been going on for 2 years now. People had plenty of time to come down and voice their opinions. I think I voiced my opinion more than enough. But we got to get this done, and this city has got to bond together, or otherwise they may throw it right out and you get nothing. And then you know what? Then we're going to be fixing a school that's going to cost the city a lot more money to fix than they realize. I just think this city has got to stop the squabbling over this. There's a non-binding vote does nothing. The school committee vote does nothing. The city council had the final vote. If I'm right, and if I'm correct and I read it right, the paperwork's already been presented down at the state. So there's no going backwards here. We got to move forward for the future of the city, the future kids that got to go to this high school, and stop worrying about if my neighborhood's going to get deteriorated at busing. Stuff like that will all be worked out. You know, we just got to get it done. If not, we might as well just scrap the whole thing and just say forget it and let the health department condemn that school eventually. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any discussion from the council? Council Mercia.
We're not voting on this tonight or anything, are we? You're just presenting this vote?
This is a communication that came from the school committee.
And you
So
just-
unless there's a motion from the floor, then the chair would entertain a motion to accept the communication and place it on file.
So having said that, have you signed the document, the submission document to MSBA?
Yes.
You have signed it.
Yes, but as long as you're asking me that question, let me take an opportunity to point out that I opted to sign it 3 weeks ago on the morning after the 5-4 vote. I was told by the city manager that my signature was not required, and that instead it was only the superintendent's signature that was required and 2 signatures from the city manager, one as the city manager and one as the chairman of the building advisory board. So with that, I didn't think that was correct, but the city manager is the one that's put this all together, and the administration is the one that's been handling this, so I just let it go. Last week, I was out of state, and then I heard that the MSBA had sent a communication to the manager's office saying that the signature of the chairman of the building advisory board was incorrect, and that it shouldn't have been there, and that what was required was the signature of the chairman of the school committee. So, not the mayor, the chairman of the school committee. So when I spoke to the city manager late last week and indicated to him that I would sign it when I got back from vacation, which was yesterday, and I signed it today.
Thank you.
And, okay. But I just want to point that out to everybody that, because my understanding is that there was quite a few rumors this morning and quite a bit of chatter on the radio and elsewhere that I was refusing to sign it, which is not true. And I don't know where those rumors would have come from, but they're completely unfounded.
Well,
And all anybody had to do was call the mayor's office or call my house and ask me, and not one person did. Go ahead, Councilor.
well, I'm bringing it up because I heard that you did sign it. That's why I wanted to clear the story. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Milonazo.
Well, if I could follow up on that to clear the story a little bit more, if you will, can the city manager shed some light on why he was of the opinion that he had two places to sign this paperwork, if you could?
Mr. Manager?
That's what our OPM Skanska said was they're the ones who prepared the submission, and the form that they prepared had those signatories. And then it was after it was submitted, then the MSBA informed us that it needed to be the chairman of the school committee.
Okay. And again, Skanska, as we all know, has had a lot of communities where they did this work. So it's, I believe what you're telling me, it's just pretty surprising that they would be that incorrect, I guess. But, so with that, I'll make a motion to accept the communication and place it on file.
Okay. Second by, we have a motion by Council Milonazo, second by Council Mercia. If I just could add, it isn't the first mistake from Skanska. And just as a technical piece, what it says beneath my name is chairman of the city council, chairman of the school committee, both. Because I was a little bit troubled or conflicted that the school committee took a different vote than what the council did. So that's how my signature appears. All in favor of the motion? All opposed? So voted. Next, moving on under the city clerk, we have the minutes of Parks and Recreation Subcommittee of June 27th, Technology and Utility Subcommittee of June 27th, and the City Council meeting of June 27th for acceptance. We have a motion to accept the minutes by Council Milonazo, second by Council Samaras. Discussion on the motion. All in favor? All opposed? So voted. Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could you just take motion 9.7 out of order? We have a registered speaker that has to get going.
Okay. If there's no objection, we'll take 9.7 out of order by general consent. Hearing no objection, 9.7 is a motion by Council Rourke. Request that the city manager of the proper department install a four-way stop sign at Foster and Westford Streets. And we have a registered speaker for that.
Do we have a second?
Oh, we have a second by Council Leary, and we have a registered speaker.
Yes. Jennifer Flore.
Good evening, Mayor, and to everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to speak in regards to request for a four-way stop between Foster and Westford. And the reason for that is because just recently, like June 25th, a friend of mine had a serious accident in that intersection because people that are going through Westford Street are just going so fast, and then the people coming from the other side are thinking that it's a four-way stop, but it's not. And about a few years ago, there was actually an officer, City of Lowell, who actually passed away off duty because of that stop as well. And I've seen it myself, and I think it's dangerous not to have a four-way stop there, considering there's a bus stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Rourke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I heard a couple of residents give me a call and ask about possible four-way stop sign at that spot. And there is a bus stop there, so maybe that could contribute to some of the problems that are there. If we could just have Nick take a look at it and give us a report, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on the
Just
motion?
real quick, I know that intersection pretty well, and not only that, but the cars, the way the stripes are going for parking, when you come up to Foster and Westford, the cars are parking right in front of you, so when you try to take a look to see if somebody's coming on, you really can't. You gotta inch out almost into the middle of their path to see if someone's coming. So if a four-way stop's not appropriate, at least moving the cars further away from that intersection might be of benefit. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted, which brings us right to...
Mr. Mayor, just quickly while we're under suspension, if I could, I see Bill and Clemmy Alexis here, so if we could take up 9.8, my motion, if you don't mind, if my colleagues wouldn't mind.
No. It isn't like we just go into suspension and then just go wild, but if there's no objection, we'll take this under suspension as well. Hearing no objection, we'll just do it by general consent by Council Milonazo. Request that the city manager, in conjunction with the traffic engineer, clarify the right-of-way improvements recommended along Rogers Street, Andover Street, Village Street, Douglas Road, and Clark Road in the relocation plan for the Lowell High School to the Colley site. Yeah. Seconded by Council Leahy. We have registered speakers. Do you want to go first?
Oh, do we have registered speakers?
Just one registered speaker.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine. Yes.
Okay. Armin Hebert.
Armin Hebert, 499 Wilder Street. I think this is a good motion by Council Milonazo. There's been a lot of stuff in the papers about eminent domain. this, taking this property, taking that property. I think this should all get clarified before people are panicking out there. I think it's a great motion, and if we didn't want to do eminent domain downtown, like a lot of the councilors had expressed, that we shouldn't do it out at the Colley site either. That can be done. They got buses going in and out of the Lowell Oak. I went there. It's a 2-lane road up there. You make adjustments. You work with the businesses. You don't take anything by eminent domain. There's ways to make that work. We own a nice big piece of property right in front of a Lemonade Field that they use as a parking lot that I think they're actually leasing to the car dealer. I'm not sure. I see a lot of cars in there all the time. There's ways to make that traffic work around there. This is where it's got to go. We've got to make it work, and we got to get this panic out of the air. All you hear on the radio talk shows, you see in the newspaper, which is, the newspaper, I don't buy that one anymore. But you know what? We've got to get this clear. Excellent, excellent, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Milazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Hebert. Again, I brought this forward just for the sake of clarification. The city manager was on the radio the other day talking about creative engineering, which I respect that to go forward. Nick Bossanetto, in my opinion, did a very good job looking at some of the traffic engineering reports that were done by the OPM and expanded upon that. There was some indication that some of what Mr. Hebert talked about may be required. Again, required versus necessary might be two different ways to look at it. So I think just to lift the cloud, if you will, that are over, especially the people that have businesses along Roger Street and live along Douglas Road and Andover Street and Roger Street, I just would like to get a clarification. And again, I'm not looking for it next week either. I think we really need to delve into this. I know we're in the process now of getting on the agenda for the August meeting. So hopefully by August, we'll have a little bit more detailed information as to whether or not there will be the request for takings, right-of-way takings, what impact that would have. And again, I'm looking, I hope with confidence in the administration that we're not going to sacrifice the safety of many for, building this project because of the vote that was taken. I just think it's just so important that we get it right. And that's the reason for the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Leary.
And I think it's a great motion as well. And I know you and I, Mr. Manager, have spoken about different high schools of similar size. Just down the road, Lawrence High School, how they're actually going about taking, they think they have 35, 36 buses, but ultimately they have about 3,500 students that go to that school. How do they actually do the transfer of students coming and going out of that building? And I think you went down there, and I think Nick Bossanetto actually went down there as well, to begin to see how other folks do it. So when you're speaking about creative engineering, you're looking at how other similar type high schools actually achieve that type of process. Another place you may want to visit is Fall River, where they have 3 high schools. Durfee, they have Bishop Conley, and Diamond Regional, which each school is about the same sort of population, actually a little bigger, in a similar neighborhood, and how they achieve that balance of safety, which is number one, and then neighborhood atmosphere, if you will. But I think if we go around and look at, in the Commonwealth alone, different high schools, we can probably come up with some creative ideas that'll actually achieve what we really need to have happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Council Leahy.
Thank you. I just want to speak about the motion also because I think, the timing of this is good because anytime you go down there, you run into the Alexis or you run into Milan Pizza, and Sam has a lot of questions, and anytime you try to offer some information to them, people misconstrue your answers to anybody you talk to on this. So this would be a good way to clear it up. And first of all, we got to find out too, are we going to do busing or aren't we doing busing? And is it going to be bus traffic, car traffic, pedestrian traffic? So as Councilor Milanazzo said, let's get a good, thorough report. Let's talk to the school department and see which way we're really going because, if they want to do busing, that'd be great. But when I was on school committee, we couldn't find money for one bus after school to transport the kids from downtown to Colley, and all of a sudden now we're going to pay for 43 buses. So, and if we can do that, that's great. But, again, let's put everybody's mind at ease. When it looked like it was going downtown, people at the dentist office were rightly so anxious. Now we've got a whole new group of people anxious, so let's get the information, let's get it out there and see what we can do and where we're going. Because we do need to move forward with the project. I mean, it's gonna happen. The kids need a new high school. Wherever it goes, it just needs to happen.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott.
I just wanted to chime in a little bit, because I agree. I think there's been, I think when the manager asked Mr. Bostonetto to put together an analysis, or his analysis, I think you have to build in assumptions. You have to assume a lot of things. Now, since that time, we went from, a high of 46 buses to, we heard the superintendent say, it's maybe not going to be that high. Maybe it'll be 33 buses. So I think the bus issue needs to be resolved, and I'm not sure whether that should start here because we pay for it, and certainly working in conjunction with the school committee, or that is within the school committee's realm. I don't know, but I think that needs to be sorted right off the bat, and I think that we should address it. And we can come up with money and live within our means for certain things. It's about priorities, and that should be a priority. So, I mean, I agree with Mr. Hebert. There's, the information goes out and people are panicked, and rightfully so when we start talking about eminent domain. I think, we're presuming that there's going to be hundreds of cars going up and down Douglas or not. Where are the cars coming from is going to be important, and how many buses, and that's the first place to start. So I think that we should continue with clarifying these issues and sorting them out and working them out, and moving forward on this project, because we have no way to turn back. We don't want that high school to be condemned, and time is becoming of the essence. So I think this is important to sort out and to address, and get some accurate numbers and data on exactly how many cars, how many vehicles, how many trips, and the time of day that we're talking about. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Marcy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager, I did hear you on the radio, and you said exactly my feelings. Minimize the impact on Roger Street businesses. Creative engineering. I believe that can happen. I really do. And so when you said that, that's what we're looking for. We need to improve it, but not at the expense of businesses. And I really don't want to take eminent domain anywhere in the city. These are businesses that were there long time. I don't think we're out to hurt anybody. We know that there's a need. Creative engineering, minimize the impact. I think that sums it up tremendously, and I firmly believe that that can happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's a great motion as well, and very timely. There's no better time than now to start working on this very important issue for these businesses, although eminent domain does not call for wiping any businesses off the map. It will adversely affect them if we take their parking or whatnot. That is just as detrimental to a business. So I'm curious to know the answers there as well. And Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager, if you could include in the busing report, to what percentage is the highway access going to be utilized? I mean, I'm hoping that South Lowell and the Highland residents will be utilizing 495. So that will lessen the impact on Roger Street right there. Significantly. So I'm curious to see that in a detailed report as well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion?
Can I just add one quick thing?
Sure.
Just,
Councilor.
Council Belanger brings up a good point. So when they do take a look at 495, 495 doesn't flow it like it used to. So that needs to be taken an honest look at that, because you can't go up and down 495 any time of the day. It could be clear right now. Tomorrow it's packed up. Tomorrow it's at 5 o'clock. It's clear. At 5:15, you're sitting there. It's a parking lot. So we need to, not just take a one-day look at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. If there's no objection, we'll just take one item out of order, item 7.5, prior to going into the public hearings, which is a vote authorizing the school department to lease with Collaborative for Regional Educational Services and Training If there's no objection, we'll waive the first reading and go to the full first reading, go to the second reading, authorizing the school department to proceed under the provisions of the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30B, for the lease of property at the Collaborative for Regional Educational Services and Training at 464 and 476 Broadway Street in Methuen, Mass. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Council Leary, second by Council Elliott. Discussion, Council Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do plan to support the vote. I just had a question on the letter that we did receive from the school department regarding the process, the procedure that they went through. And it talks about an evaluation committee reviewed the single proposal, and then they talked about conducting several site visits, and then we ranked the proposals, plural. So was it one proposal, or were there other proposals, I guess is my question. Just seems to contradict in the letter.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Good evening. There was one single proposal for the space. It was likely a typo. I will say that we've gone back and forth with the vendor as far as the proposed space. So the original space that they had proposed didn't meet our needs entirely. So they came back and we went back and forth on getting more space to accommodate our students.
Thank you. I happen to know the building. I wish it was in Lowell, but it's a very good building. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy. 9 yeas.
Being shortly after 7 o'clock, we'll move to the public hearings. And the first public hearing is a vote to accept Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53F, 3/4 PEG access and cable-related fund. If there's no objection, we'll waive the, well, that would be the second reading. We'll open up the hearing for those who wish to speak in favor. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? Go ahead.
I'm Wendy Blum. I'm the Executive Director of Lowell Telecommunications Corporation at 246 Market Street, and I'm not here to speak in favor or against, just for information. I just wondered, and my board wonders, how this enterprise fund will affect how LTC gets its funding from the franchise fees.
Okay. Maybe we'll answer that question a little later on, if that's okay. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? If not, we'll close the hearing on behalf of the proponents and open it up to those who wish to speak in opposition. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Hearing none. We'll close the hearing on behalf of the opponents and open it up to the City Council. Do we have a motion approved by Council Leary, seconded by Council Mercia? Mr. Manager, can you answer that question?
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much. So just to give a brief description of what's happening here, there's the public hearing to set up the fund, and then later there's a vote to transfer funds into the account. This is what's known as a receipt reserve for appropriation account. There were recent changes from the Department of Revenue on how municipalities in the state need to treat funds associated with the cable franchise license with their cable provider. It previously was operated somewhat like a revolving fund, which didn't require an appropriation. Now, to ensure that the monies are being used for the right purposes, the DOR has required communities to either set up an enterprise fund or a receipt reserve for appropriation fund. We've chosen the latter. These are the legislative actions necessary to do so. To Ms. Bloom's point, this doesn't affect the funding for LTC, our local access provider. It just changes the way that the funds are treated. So in order for the money to come out of the fund, it requires a vote of the City Council.
Are you all set? Did you have a follow-up question, or is that?
Does that mean that our funding then is not coming from a check from Comcast, but will instead be a check from the city?
No, that's not going to change. The check that LTC receives will still be from Comcast.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion to approve? If not, roll call.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Relia.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
The next public hearing is a vote to accept Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 13E, establishing a reserved fund for special education. We'll open up the hearing for those who wish to speak in favor. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none. Close the hearing on behalf of the proponents and open up for those who wish to speak in opposition. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in opposition? In opposition? 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 Hearing none, we'll close the hearing on behalf of the opponents and open up to the council. Do we have a motion to approve by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Rourke? Discussion on the motion? Roll call.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Relia.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
The next public hearing is an ordinance to create a working foreman cemetery manager for parks and cemeteries in the Department of Public Works. We'll open up the hearing for those who wish to speak in favor. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor?
Good evening, Mr. Manager, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Tom Belgard. I live at 25 Joffrey Street in Lowell. And just for the viewing audience, as you know, I'm employed as your Assistant City Manager, Public Works Commissioner. I'm here tonight to speak in favor, and I will be available to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, we'll close the hearing on behalf of the proponents and open up to those who wish to speak in opposition. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in opposition? In opposition? 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 Hearing none, we'll close the hearing on behalf of the opponents and open up to the City Council. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Council Rourke, seconded by Council Samaras. Discussion on the motion. Council Milonazo.
Thank you, through you to either the manager or the commissioner. Is this a union position? Will this position be in the union?
Yes, Councilor. As you know, over the past 12 months, we've been consolidating the Public Works Department, all the operations of under one roof.
Yes.
And what this position does is allows us to continue the streamlining operation. It doesn't add to the bottom line of the budget. We're not looking for money to fund it. But at the end of the day, I think it does, to use your words, provide unique opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
I think the opportunity to me is this position will have the ability to provide direct supervision. I think the unique opportunity is the fact that this position will also provide the ability for that person to oversee directly other employees in other divisions of the department. It's something that's never been done before. I believe it's a smart practice. It's something we should continue to look into. But at the end of the day, I think it's good for the employee. I think it's good for the city. And as I said, I believe we can do this within ourselves. So,
okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy. 9 yeas.
The next public hearing is for National Grid Verizon New England requesting the installation of a pole and anchor located at 144 Chelmsford Street. We'll open up the hearing for those who wish to speak in favor. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in favor?
Yes, my name is Nicholas Bassanetto, interim city engineer for the city of Lowell. Speaking in favor for this utility pole, it will bring three-phase service to the Maycom expansion. As you know, Maycom expansion has been approved by the planning board, and this is necessary to bring enough three-phase power to that expansion. So,
okay, thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak in favor?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Sam Eng, North Andover Design Department, National Grid. We'd like to install poles 7-50 to provide a three-phase tap to pole 751 to provide new power to the 144 Chelmsford Street proposed building for Maycom.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is there anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, we'll close the hearing on behalf of the proponents and open it up for those who wish to speak in opposition. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? In opposition? Opposition? In opposition? Hearing none, we'll close the hearing on behalf of the opponents and it open up to the City Council. Do we have a motion to refer to the wire inspector for report and recommendation by Council Milonazo, second by Council Samaras? Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted?
Your Honor?
Yes, Counsel Leahy.
I'm just going to ask one more question again, maybe while the representative's here. I'm not going to vote for this when it comes up again. I don't know what the new thing is, but, you know, just in the last couple of days in my neighborhood again, they seem to think that it's okay to drop wires and wrap them around the poles and their telephone lines. So I don't know what's going on or why, you know, they think that that's appropriate, but I don't think we should approve any more poles until they start cleaning up their poles and pulling them out.
Mr. Manager?
We've asked National Grid and Verizon to appear before the City Council on July 25th, and I'll make sure that they're prepared to answer that, or at least get rid of it before then.
I mean, they've cleaned
7th,
some
I'm sorry,
up.
27th.
Yeah, they've cleaned some up, and then you go for a walk, and there's 3 new poles, they just drop them, wrap them around, and leave them there.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion? We've already taken the vote. The final hearing is for National Grid Verizon New England requesting installation of one JO and SO pole located at Gorham Street, one SO pole stub pole at Newhall Street, and one JO pole at Ellsworth Street. We'll open up the hearing for those who wish to speak in favor. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in favor?
My name is Nicholas Bostonetto, interim city engineer for the city of Lowell, speaking in favor of these poles on Gorham, Newhall, and Ellsworth Street. As you know, there's been a lot of work there related to the Markley building, bringing power to the Markley building. There's also a new, we sold off some city property next to the fire station for a new development, so there's going to be some new services there. So I would vote in support of these. I speak in favor of these. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor?
Sam Eng, National Grid, North Andover Design. We speak in favor of this because it's to provide a new feeder for the Markley Buildings data center. Without this, we wouldn't be able to provide the power necessary to power up the new data center there at Markley, Prince Ave.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, we'll close the hearing on behalf of the proponents and open it up for those who wish to speak in opposition. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Hearing none, we'll close the hearing on behalf of the opponents and open it up to the City Council. We have a motion to refer to the wire inspector for report and recommendation from Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Milanazzo. Discussion, Councilor Milanazzo.
Thank you. Mr. Bostonetto brought up the fact that there's a building being built next to the firehouse on Gorham Street. For some reason, I was under the impression that when we sold that land, there was going to be no building built there. But there is, so the horses left the barn. But what's the use going to be? Do we have any idea what the use is going to be for that building? Because again, I was under the impression that there was going to be no building built there.
Yes, sir. So the building's going to be a office space. It's going to be a small building, 1-story high, some flex office space. It's owned by the same gentleman that owns the property on the other side of Ellsworth.
Mr. Used Car Dealer.
Yes, Mr. Val.
Why do you remember that? We weren't going to build anything there.
No, he came in front of the DPD and he was specifically going to.
Okay.
So that is what he's.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
Again,
approved for.
obviously the building's being built. I just remember it a little differently. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Thank you. Councilor Leahy.
Just a quick question to Nick while he's there.
Yes, sir.
I don't really recall what was going to happen with that, but that foundation's pretty close to the firehouse, huh? That's within regulations?
Yes, so.
How far is that, 2 feet?
Well, I can't give you an exact measurement, but that foundation, our inspectors have been out there making sure that it's poured correctly. The utilities, the water and the sewer have been hooked in. And my recollection is that there's a drainage easement, so the firehouse roof, actually, the drainage comes down, and there's a little bit of space in between for that water to run in. So when we sold that off from that property, we made sure that the firehouse had enough room to, maintain its drainage and operations.
I just didn't think we could build a building like 2 or 3 feet away from another building anymore, but It all depends on the zoning for that area?
Right, it went before planning board, well, yeah, it went through the whole processing, the permit processing,
Really?
so, yeah.
All right, it just, it's like we're back in the old days when we're building, you can reach out and touch the other building. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks, Councilor. Any further, Councilor?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Nick. Are they having any off-street parking for that business, or are they going to park on Ellsworth Street?
They have, so the building is gonna be up to the sidewalk on Gorham, and parking will be behind it. So you're gonna come on Ellsworth, come out and park there. Now, the firehouse used to park there, so we created, when we sold the property, we created fire department parking only on the next street up, Olive? I forget the name of the street. So we created new parking for the firemen, and the parking for the building will be behind.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Rocco.
Thank you. Nick, how'd you create parking on the opposite side?
On street, we brought it in front of you guys, in front of the city council as a 60-day, and you voted for it. So you
Yeah,
voted for it.
that'll be permanent, right?
Yeah, it's already
Oh, it's
part
okay,
of, so you've already voted for it, yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion, Councilor Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this property was city-owned property, and it came before the council, and we put it out for bid, and we took the highest bid, correct? So do we know how much tax revenue is going to be generated? Because before this, we were generating zero, and now this is on the tax roll with the building and jobs. I think that'd be important to.
Yeah, we can get that. We'll get that and have a report for the next council meeting.
And I know they're still building it, so there's no way to place a value on it, but I think it's
But I
important.
think they can, I think the assessor can at least give us an estimate as to what she thinks it will generate.
Okay, I think that's good. I know it's not a huge business, but this is how we continue to bring more tax revenue into the city to pay our bills. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. That concludes the public hearings for this evening. Next, we have communications from the city manager. We have items A through J this evening. So we'll start off with A, which is lighting in downtown. Any, Councilor Samaras?
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Thank you for the report, Mr. Manager. I mean, it does show that when we convert to all LED lighting, there'll be great savings to the city. But I also would like some addition to this report, Mr. Manager. What I'm looking for is what type of lighting changes will be made in the downtown. We've talked in the past about Market Street, being a very dark area. When you talk about Merrimack Street in the business sector, the streets that parallel Merrimack Street, people question, walking at nighttime, in that area. So I'd like to know, when you're going to be able to change the actual lighting in that area, okay? It's really a safety issue. And also, I guess, this is quite a thorough examination of all the lighting that we have in the city. So would you also be able to break it down into neighborhoods as you start working into neighborhoods? I think it's a report that people would like to see. There's always been question about the lighting in the downtown. When you talk about Merrimack Street, Middle Street, some of those streets are very well lit, but we want the entire downtown lit well so people, who are using our city at nighttime can feel safe. And safety is in good lighting. But also I'd like the report to also include the neighborhoods. Thank you.
Any further discussion? If not, we'll move on to item B, McKinley Avenue. Councilor Leary.
First, thank you for the quick response. I guess the question is, we filed for declaratory judgment from the Superior Court. What date are we going to be heard, and when do we think a decision will be rendered, and what will that form take?
They filed the complaint for declaratory judgment yesterday in Superior Court. What they do then is get a date for a preliminary injunction. So we'll find out the date of the short order of notice on that, and we'll inform the council as when the hearing's going to be.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on item B? If not, we'll move on to item C, which is Genesis. Any discussion regarding item C? Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, I want to thank you and DPD for a very, very detailed report on the Genesis project that was brought up while you were on vacation, and the project apparently went by the wayside. But the popular version by many is that either the council or the administration may have dropped the ball with all the hustle and bustle of the high school, which I guess would make sense. But in reality, that is not what happened. Okay, this project obviously was a long time coming. There was a lot of effort put in by this council, the administration, and planning and development to make this work. Okay, unfortunately, it didn't. Okay, and I don't want to sugarcoat this. It is not a good thing. I don't want to say, I can't sit here and say it's a good thing that Genesis is moving to Dragon. That is not a good thing. The reality of this is that Genesis more or less scaled back on the project. The amount of jobs, the concept of the project, the first floor went from a pharmacy, a restaurant, and retail shops that would service the Hamilton Canal District to offices and storage. So this developer sort of went back on what they originally submitted initially, and we are looking for a signature building at this location. It's a very, very valuable lot, and some say, can we afford to be picky? I think we can. I truly believe we can with what is going on there. I mean, I hate to see all that hard work by so many all for naught. But this is not the vision of what we're looking for at the Hamilton Canal. And I agree with you, Mr. Manager, administration. I am willing to wait, because I think the ball is in our court now with the construction. You now can see steel at that judicial center. Steel is erected in the air now. You can see the things that are happening down there. Interest has really ramped up, and I think we will get to where we want to be. So, again, great effort by you, Mr. Manager, administration, and planning and development. Unfortunately, it did not work. The building, the DPD included renditions of the building. It is a far cry from what was originally submitted, and so was the concept. So the game changed as time went on to apparently not satisfy the administration, and I happen to agree. Do I like it? No. But I think time is on our side, Mr. Manager. I think the pendulum is swinging where interest is really going to peak up there. We recently had an open house on Hamilton Canal District through Mayor Kennedy's motion, which piqued interest. I have a motion later in the evening to that. But I think we're soon to be in the driver's seat in that district. So, again, unfortunately, it didn't work, but Genesis changed the game in all reality as time went on. So, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on item C? Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I appreciate the report. It's a very comprehensive report. I just had a question for the city manager, where you mentioned, again, it's a public document, you mentioned the interest from SNR Corporation, which is a local company. They employ local employees, but they are a contractor. And I know you're talking about having their corporate headquarters be located there, and their construction company is going to remain on Broadway. Again, I don't know if from a zoning standpoint, we can restrict from the standpoint of the construction company, because again, I'm not picking on SNR, but all construction companies, they sometimes have backhoes and other equipment parked, and that's not the innovation district that I would be thinking of. I think it's terrific that they're looking to expand and have their corporate headquarters there, so congratulations to the administration, but again, they're a contracting company, so that's my only concern.
Mr. Manager?
We'll work with them. We are working with them on the design of the building.
Okay.
And they're very interested because they're just going to occupy part of the building.
Okay.
They're looking to lease it out to other entities, but there won't be.
I mean, they're a very, very good company. I mean, but again, just want to make sure that we don't have equipment parked there. So, thank you.
Councilor Samaras.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Mr. Manager, no, this is a very complete report, but you've also talked about wind development. You've talked about Salapoli and the interests that people have. I think sometimes because of the high school situation, It was, are we taking the eye off the ball regarding other matters? And this is evident that we haven't. The issue with Genesis, I can really understand because we were all excited about Genesis on the original plan. And what you showed here was nowhere near what the original plan spoke of. But you've also talked about other companies either coming back or looking at the situation. Could you, for our people who watch now, I mean, they don't have this report in front of them, sort of give them a little bit of a breakdown that you had here about what's going on at the Hamilton Innovation Center?
Exactly, sure, thank you. I think it's been a really proactive and exciting last several months relative to working with proposed developers. As Councilor Milanazzo stated, we've been working with local company SNR Corporation to locate an office building on parcel 5, which is right across from the Judicial Center. But one of the other reasons that we didn't go forward with the Genesis property is because those are the two most signature parcels in the entire Hamilton Canal District. That's why we keep talking about a signature building. And in the wings, we had Salapoli Company looking to develop parcels 2 and 4. So we didn't want to settle on a prototypical nursing home when we had an opportunity for Mr. Lapoli to do a development after he does the Thorndike Exchange. And we're in negotiations with him right now relative to a proposal. We're also in negotiations with Wind Development. They're coming in to meet with me tomorrow to go over a purchase and sales agreement relative to parcels 8 and 9. We'll be talking to them about a commercial component there, about what their plans are. And the most exciting news, I think, in the past month was that Wind, Watermark committed to developing a building in the Hamilton Canal. That was good for 2 reasons. First of all, they're going to build an office building, but more importantly, that commitment allows us to access federal funds to build the signature bridge in the Hamilton Canal. So, no, great things are going on. We had a great open house. I know you'll want to talk about that later. Generated a lot of excitement, and I look forward, and I'm positive about the Hamilton Canal Innovation District.
No, thank you for that report. I mean, I think it's important for people to understand. Sometimes, in Lowell's history in the past, we've seen where, well, we've got to take what's being offered to us. It may not be something that we want, but let's take it anyways. Let's allow a gas station to be built where a building was built, or things like that. But I think we can afford to take our time and do it right, and I think this is evidence of how the Hamilton Canal area is working out. I mean, this can be a true innovation district, and it can be really that district which really can be the catalyst for other development of other businesses in this city. So I want to thank you for this report and continue making those connections with the different companies that are now looking at locating it at the Hamilton Innovation Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One more brief point, Mr. Mayor, through to the manager now. Mr. Manager, Genesis is already established in the city. There is a nursing home at the top of Merrimack Street, right next to University Crossing, correct? So by that locating to the Hamilton Canal, there's technically no, if that were to happen, there would be no net gain. I mean, we would not have a signature building at the Hamilton Canal. We could potentially have a vacant building at that site too, and have almost the same problem at a very, very high-profile parcel there. So I think that bears mentioning. Was that their intent, to basically relocate the service? I mean, they're doing a great job up there. I don't think anybody has an issue with the services they're providing up there. However, it was just a relocation, more or less, and technically no net gain that could have led to a vacant space, Mr. Manager. Is that accurate?
They never indicated to us that they were going to vacate those premises, but we still felt that it wasn't a good fit in the Hamilton Canal Innovation District.
I would agree. And as you, Mr. Manager, I'm very confident in the future of the Hamilton Canal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council Leary.
Just quickly, I want to say briefly, too, I agree with what you're saying. The signature building areas need to be a signature building. That's what brings folks not only to the Innovation District, but ultimately to our downtown. That's going to be that important. If you look at similar-sized cities like Worcester and Springfield, and they've had signature buildings that have had success. Granted, they're not the only thing that makes it happen, but they are a very important factor. And by waiting in these two areas, and these areas where Watermark will be building and potentially Lapoli or whoever is going to come into that district is going to be really important. So to echo what everybody said here tonight, I support it, and I think it's going to be a very positive thing for the city going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, a couple quick questions with regards to the parking garage. Is the update on the RFP for the schematic design of the garage? I know you mentioned a couple of meetings ago that DPD was ready to let that go as far as an RFP for the design of the building. Then also the temporary parking. What's the timeline for that as well?
The question is on the Hamilton Canal Innovation District parking garage. We've done the design.
The design is underway. Walker is now the designer. They're under contract. And I've got to look at my sheet here because I get all these dates mixed up. But it'll be a 2-year construction period, groundbreaking summer 2018, and it will be finished in 2020, about the same time as Watermark will be finishing. So we've got that going.
And then the temporary parking lot that's going up?
That
soon?
street's F&G.
Yep.
Okay, that's the infrastructure for the whole area. And that, we're finalizing those plans. What we were waiting for is the commitment from a beneficiary or a developer, and that'll be Watermark, to be able to package the bridge in with the rest of the infrastructure. So Watermark's commitment to be the beneficiary is huge, because now we can put the whole thing together. EDA is just looking at the last bit of some easements we have with the Park Service, and they're going to give their approval, and then we can put it all out to bid.
Great.
So it's
Thank you.
good.
Thank
Good
you.
news. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? If not, we'll move on to D, revisit the parking restriction in downtown on weekends. Is there any discussion on item D? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you for the report. I know that I brought this up, raising concerns about getting people downtown and the perception. My question was, and it's not in the report, how much do we generate on Saturday from parking downtown? And
Nick,
I
could
did
you,
see there's a, one parking enforcement person for every 1,400 spaces, et cetera, et cetera.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Weekend parking with a combination of meters and tickets have generated about $150,000 per fiscal year.
I guess I should have been more specific. How many tickets do we give out, and what does that generate?
I believe that there was around 4,000 parking tickets, which equates to about 10% of our total issuance. And it was about $70,000 to $80,000 per year.
From tickets?
Yeah.
Right.
And then the other half came from meters.
From meters. I mean, that's good revenue from the meters. It's just as frustrating when we get people to come downtown and they get a parking ticket. I think that it's almost an incentive not to come down again if they're getting a parking ticket on Saturday. And we don't do it in the evening, naturally, because we want people to come down and go to restaurants and enjoy the nightlife down there. And I understand the premise behind it, because you just can't have people who may live downtown park there all day. So it's this balance. But I accept the report and the overall strategy. It's quite a bit of money that we do raise to park. It's just, and I know you can't have a parking system without any enforcement, but I just have heard more often than not, I came downtown and I got a parking ticket, and that's, it's something that it was worthy to look at, and always maybe keep in mind, because we want people down there on Saturday, and this is getting a ticket's not always the incentive. So I know you got to feed your meter, but okay. Thank you for the report, and see how it goes. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Mayor.
Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do appreciate the motion that Councilor Elliott made and the response as well. It's very detailed, and it's good to know what Saturdays alone bring in for revenue. But, we need to be reminded that the budget, I spoke to this when we approved the budget, that we, in FY18, we're headed for a deficit in the parking enterprise. And we made it abundantly clear that we do not want taxpayers subsidizing parking. That cannot happen. It needs to be user paid for. So with that being said, Mr. Mayor, through you to Nick Navin. Now, Nick, you had spoken about a detailed plan with rate increases and on-street more premium prices for the premium parking spots. Where are we with that report, may I ask?
The parking department has been collaborating with the city manager's office very closely on putting together a well-thought-out detailed plan, and I anticipate that we'll be able to present it to you, within the month.
Okay, so we'll see it about August sometime. For rough, probably a January 1 increase if the council sees it to be true?
Yes, I think that's a reasonable timeline.
Okay. No, I appreciate it, but we have to think that, number one, that, we are not alone by enforcing parking on Saturday. Every city and town, and then some our size, does it, okay? We are not alone. I know it's an inconvenient to some, when they come in, they don't expect it, but any city or town our size enforces on Saturday, and some on Sunday. Boston, I'm agreed we're not Boston, but until 8 o'clock on Sundays. It's 7 days a week. So granted, I don't think we should go that far, but again, every municipality on Sundays does enforce meters. And that why we went to this method is that we were getting feedback from the businesses at the time that residents, and we value having residents downtown, were parking on the street and staying there all night and all weekend. That's why we enforce Saturdays and weekends parking, and that we would end up going right back to that. I know there's many benefits to having downtown residents, but a downtown loft does not come with a on-street parking spot. That was never the arrangement. I approved many of them on the Zoning Board of Appeals prior to getting elected. Each unit was supposed to have a spot allocated in the garage. It was never part of the bargain to have an on-street spot as a unit in downtown. Okay, so with that being said, it would be tough. It's $150,000 a year, and looking into a deficit in FY18, it would be tough to renege on that income. So, thank you for the report, Mr. Navin, and I look forward to your detailed parking plan that you are going to submit to the council in August. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further discussion on item D? If not, we'll move on to item E, which is the Change for Change initiative. Any discussion? Councilor Elliott.
Just briefly, thank you for the report, Mr. Manager. I know they're going to be installing signage and such. Is there a dollar figure that that we have that you come up with? It's not in the report on how much has been raised from the Change for Change, and just for the people at home, this is the program that was implemented, the initiative that was implemented to try to, for those that want to make a donation to help the panhandlers, that they can do it at the kiosks, right?
Unfortunately, the crackerjack intern we had, Ashley Hilson, that developed the Change for Change, we lost her, and so we're looking to hire somebody else. So it slowed down a bit, but we're hiring an intern to take over and help out Nick to seek out with different businesses downtown the ability to place the old parking meters in front of them. Right now, we're doing the signage, but we are going to be ramping up the program as soon as we hire the new intern.
Okay, thank you. Have we raised any money from it at this point in the meters?
No, we have not deployed the infrastructure to take donations at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion on this item? If not, Councilor Mercia.
I don't know, maybe it's me, but we're going through a lot of work to have revenue for people that are panhandling to some degree. I don't know why we don't just create a sign. We know where they're standing, put a sign where the corners that they're standing and say, in an effort to help the panhandlers, donate to your favorite charity, i.e. Merrimack Food Bank. I thought that's what we were doing. Is that what we're doing?
Yes, and that's what we will be doing. So I think the way that we viewed to move forward on this Change for Change program is to create two phases, if you will. We'll have the awareness and education phase, which includes the signage in these areas where panhandling is prevalent. Secondary to that, but working on it in parallel is, we'll figure out the most appropriate mechanism to facilitate donations. But I think we can move straight away with, displaying some signage that makes the public aware of the pitfalls of panhandling.
So what is this kiosk for donations? I don't get that.
Well, I think that was the original vision. It was to see if we could, adopt our current hardware to have dual purpose of collecting parking revenue and collecting, donations for charities. But, after some preliminary exploration, it looks like that might be cost prohibitive. It would be quite a bit of money to, change the software within the kiosk to be able to, take and segregate donations from parking revenue. We're looking at alternative means to be able to facilitate that, but we don't want that to slow down the signage piece. Like you said, put up some nice signs where everyone's panhandling and to see if that'll have an effect to kind of curb that behavior.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion on this item? If not, we'll move on to item F, parking issues on Mount Vernon and Bonnie Street. Any discussion regarding item F? Hearing none, we'll move on to item G, the parking app. Any discussion, Councilor Leary?
No, thank you very much for the report, very comprehensive. I like your recommendations regarding looking into the feasibility of the probable cost. I think that's important. I think, well, it obviously makes sense. And I guess we could put it as a form of a motion to have the manager look at the feasibility of the cost to see if this is something that would be a positive thing for the city. So I put that in form of a motion at this point. Because I think that is, I don't know if anybody could.
Second.
Thank you. I think that's important to do.
Could you state the motion?
Oh, the motion is to have the city manager look into the feasibility of the cost of developing the smart technology for the parking app.
Okay, and that's seconded by Councilor Leahy, or Councilor Elliott?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
I think it's a good recommendation. I think it's going to be an asset to the city as we grow. It's going to be important to have. It's going to be something that other cities are already doing. I like the fact that we've already reached out to Verizon and to UMass Lowell to begin that process. I think looking into what those costs would be, not only look at the feasibility of the cost to see if it's cost advantageous, but also see maybe there's a grant that could be written to do that as well. There must be something out there that would be helpful to it, because it is something that's going to benefit the city as a whole and benefit our businesses and benefit the downtown residents going forward. But I like the report. I like the fact that there's good recommendations in it. I think we just need to really take the initiative and make it happen. Thank you.
Okay, is there any further discussion regarding this item? Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. Next, we'll move on to petition responses, the guardrail on Powell and Liberty Street. Do we have any discussion regarding that item? Hearing none, we'll move on to the handicap parking at 9597 4th Street. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to the informational items, various transfers over $20,000. Any discussion regarding that item? Moving on, we'll go to fire overtime transfer. Any discussion? And finally, the heating, no? And finally, the heating contract budget savings. Any discussion regarding the heating budget savings? Councilor Elliott.
Not on this one, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to, can I go back to the other, the fire department overtime? I think this is significant, and I can remember long enough back that overtime was always something that was a cost that we tried to control, both on the police and on the fire, and minimizing the, the firehouse closings. And this is significant, and I think it's worthy of mentioning because it has consistently gone down from FY15 when it was over $1 million, FY16 $931, and this year is projected to go down to around $800,000, and I think that's a big savings. I think it's down 12% from last year and 14% from the year before, and years ago it was the opposite trend. So whether it was the change to the shifts and management and cost savings, I think it's important because this is another area where we have controlled the costs, and that's an attribute to the chief and administration from years to come. I think it's a good thing, and we should talk about it because those are big numbers that used to be kind of an uncontrolled cost.
Thank you. Mr. Manager?
Yes, before I turn it over to the Chief Winwood for a brief presentation, the reason it's going down, I think, and the chief will agree with me, is in large part due to the actions of this city council by increasing the staffing of the fire department. We have increased the number of firefighters to the extent that we can cover more of the firehouses at less money. So could you just explain that for Council Elliott and the rest of the council?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Manager. I'd like to thank Manager Murphy and this city council for increasing our staff. We were at a low of 187 firefighters 2 years ago. And this past year, we've been up to a high of 213. We're currently at 208, and we're looking to increase that again, back up to 213. So what that's allowed is it's allowed us to decrease the overtime spending a little bit, as Councilor Elliott mentioned, from $1,080,000 2 years ago to $931,000 last year, and down to $771,000 this year, while at the same time decreasing the company closings from 2 years ago. We were at about 0.9 per shift, down to about 0.36 closings per shift. So we're closing one company about a third of the time right now, which is a great step in the right direction to where we were 2 years ago. So once again, I'd like to thank the council and the city manager for increasing our staff. And it's making a difference in keeping our fire stations open more often. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, Chief, on behalf of the city council, I know that city manager gave us credit, but certainly it's a reflection on your leadership in that department that it's gone down year after year. So you should be commended for that, and congratulations to you too.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any further discussion on this item? If not, the chair would entertain a motion to accept the communications from the city manager, place them on file by Council Mercy, seconded by Council Milonazo. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next is a communication from the manager appointing the following 7 people to the Cultural Council. Jerry Besantz, Justin Salzbach, Bianca Morrow, Nick Sparrows, Mariana Wood, and Joseph Pine.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to accept the communication, place it on file by Council Elliott, seconded by Council Leary. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. I'm sorry, what's, okay.
I don't know if they're here,
Say
Mr.
hello.
Mayor, but
Yeah.
maybe they can, if they'd like to speak.
Who wants to go first?
Come up as a group.
Why don't you come up as a group and just show yourself, introduce yourself to the council.
We just want to all thank you for your time and effort.
Thanks a lot. I'm Jerry Bazans from Image Theater, and I've had a small theater company. We're kind of nomadic. We perform upstairs at the Old Court. We perform at the Whistler House. We do plays, original plays by local playwrights. Since 2005, we've produced the work of over 100 local playwrights, and I'm very proud to be a member of the Lowell Cultural Council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bianca Morrow. I'm at 172 Middle Street in the Air Lofts. Most of you probably know me because I've bothered you about the Lowell Kinetic Sculpture Race. We are very proud to be in our 2nd year. Thank you very much to the city. Thank you for all the city councilors who help us in various ways, and everyone in the city who's made this happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Joe Pine, lifelong member of the City of Lowell. I'm just honored to serve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Mariana Wood, 160 Western Avenue Studios, yay, love it. So I'm a huge part of the community there, and then I also work for Merrimack Repertory Theater. I'm their special event manager, so if you want to have a good party, call me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Justin Salzbach. I'm from 41 Riverside Ave here in Lowell. I moved here with my wife in 2016, and eager to be part of the community and kind of give back and contribute, so thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, Nick Spiros. I moved here a couple of years ago, and I'm very looking forward to this. I'm opening a business downtown Lowell called Lowell Burger Company, and I've been a chef for a lot longer than you could imagine. I worked for a nonprofit agency for the last several years, and I was in the community of Lowell a lot, and it really made me feel it's good. It's good to be more a part of this now, so thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion, Mr. Manager? I think you did a great job with these appointments. All in favor of the motion to accept and place on file? All opposed? So voted. Council Mercia.
I just want to apologize. If I knew you were all here, we would have suspended the rules and let you come in and go out. So I'm sorry you had to stay all night long. Such troopers. Yeah, thank you. Great job. Sorry to keep you so long.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
can we ask when the burger company will open?
That's a loaded question right there. Well, it will open faster if some of you would come down and help grouting and doing some sweeping up. So you're all welcome to do so. But our goal is in less than 2 weeks.
Great. Good luck.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, could we just get the date of the kinetic sculpture race? When will that be?
This year's second annual kinetic sculpture race will be on September 23rd. The start and finish lines are at the intersections of Market and Palmer Street. Festivities begin around 8 o'clock in the morning that day. The race kicks off formally at 11 a.m., travels from there to the Jeanne d'Arc parking lot near the Songus Center for the Maddening Mud Pit. From there to the Sampras Pavilion, where the machines will traverse 100 yards of the Merrimack River before returning up the sandy beach and racing back to downtown at the intersection of Market and Palmer, finishing
you.
around 4 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's good.
Next is a communication from the city manager to reappoint John Lenahan to the Board of Parks.
Move
We have a
approval.
motion approved by Council Mercy, seconded by Council Rourke. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Counsel Leary. Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have a vote to apply, accept, and expend a grant of $3,500 from the National Park Foundation for the Active Trails Program. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading and go to the second reading, authorizing the city manager to apply, accept, and expend funds from the National Park Foundation in the amount of $3,500 for the Active Trails Program. Do we have a motion to approve by Council Leary, seconded by Council Leahy? Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy. 9 yeas.
Next, we have a vote authorizing the city manager to execute a lease with Celco, doing business as Verizon Wireless Small Cells Master Lease. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading. Authorizing the city manager to execute the small cell agreement between the city of Lowell and Celco Partnership, doing business as Verizon Wireless. Do we have a motion to register to speak up to this? Do we have a motion to approve, first of all?
So move.
We have a motion approved by Council Elliott, seconded by Council Belanger. We have a registered speaker. Councilor Elliott, we'll let the registered speaker go first? Is that?
Absolutely.
Yep, okay.
Lee Getchia.
Mr. Getchia.
My name is Lee Getchia. I live at 67 Hawthorne Street. Good evening, Mr. Manager, Mr. Mayor, City Councils. Again, my name is Lee Getchia. I live at 67 Hawthorne Street. I'm also the using president for IBW 2321, the telephone workers. I want to start by saying this is not a union issue with Verizon at all. I'm speaking as a taxpayer in the city who wants internet competition in the city, which will bring lower prices, greater coverage, and best service available. The wireless antenna project that Verizon is trying to bring forth to the city is a good project. It's just not a complete project. What I mean by this is the wireless antenna is a great project for the cell phone if you have Verizon Wireless. If you have another cell phone provider, say Sprint, AT&T, T-Mobile, and the company doesn't lease space for this wireless antenna, I don't believe you're going to get the added coverage of 4G. I watched last month's technology subcommittee when the Markley Group appeared before the subcommittee. The Markley Group is placing fiber from Cambridge to Lowell, and they're offering to let any business use the dark fiber or unused fiber that passes from Cambridge to Lowell.
Allowing this to be done will create competition with Comcast and create a bidding war to result in lower internet prices and the best service available for the customers. I want now to explain to you how a wireless antenna works. The example I'm going to use is Varnum Ave. About a year ago, fiber was placed from Lowell General Hospital to Greater Lowell Tech. The workers ran fiber underground from Appleton Street to the pole in front of Greater Lowell Tech, then aerial from the poles right to the Tingsboro line. This is why it's not a union issue. The union's going to get the work. We're going to splice the antennas. It's just not a complete project. Like I said, it's a good project for the wireless. Hypothetically, the 216 fibers sitting in front of Lowell General right now runs out to Greater Lowell, Tingsboro line again. On Varnum Ave, according to the map Verizon provided the subcommittee, there's 4 antennas out the Tingsboro line. These antennas use 2 fibers each, 1 in, 1 out. If we times that by 4, there's 8 fibers. There's 208 fibers there, dark, unused. These dark unused fibers can be used to create competition in the city. One of these dark fibers can feed up to 10 homes with fixed fiber broadband. With 208 dark unused fibers sitting at Varnum Ave, there's capability to give 2,080 homes just in that area alone internet choice, which will give them competition on pricing and internet services. This example is coming right from the plan Verizon gave the technology subcommittee. There's fiber placed throughout the city, in every section of the city. The Highlands, Centerville, Belvedere, South Lowell, downtown, and Pawtucketville. There'll be dark fibers and unused fibers that can be utilized to bring fixed fiber broadband to the homes, which will offer fast and more reliable, more secure internet for the Lowell residents. I know this will create competition in the city between Verizon and Comcast because it's already happening now in 2 buildings in the city where fixed broadband's placed, the Appleton Mills and the Boot Mills. The residents of these 2 locations can choose between Verizon and Comcast for internet services, which gives them lower prices and a better service. The rest of the city, which is over 99% of the Lowell residents, let that sink in now. We now will not have that choice, nor the potential benefit, and therefore remain captive to Comcast pricing and services. The reason fixed fiber broadband's is a better option than wireless for these homes is that it's your signal and your signal alone. A wireless signal is a shared signal. So picture this coming off the antenna. You're going to get that coverage. Let's use the Folk Fest. Everybody's there. You're not going to get that greater coverage. It's going to slow down. An example of this is when you're at home, your kids are on the phone, you're trying to do work on your laptop, and it slows down. The reason it slows down is everyone's on the same wireless signal. With a fixed fiber path to the home, it's your own signal, not a shared path with others, which can get slowed down and become less reliable. Therefore, your fixed fiber signal is faster and more reliable. There's yet another building that will have fiber connected directly to. It's a new apartment building being built across from the high school. Fiber is already placed in that building. Access to the fiber internet and benefit will be available to these residents, but not to over 99% of the residents in the city of Lowell. Also, just in our area, the residents of Chelmsford, Tingsboro, Barica, Westford, Tewksbury, parts of Dracut have direct fibers to their homes, which allow them the choice between Comcast and Verizon, which means the opportunity for better pricing and better internet service. In closing, like I said, this is a great project for the wireless, but it's not a complete project like the one Verizon's doing in Boston. In Boston, the company's doing both the wireless antenna project as well as offering fixed fiber to the homes, which means the Boston residents have an option for lower pricing, fast, and more secure internet, which over 99% of the Lowell residents do not. Why isn't Verizon doing the same thing in Lowell? If Verizon isn't willing to do the dual project in Lowell as being done in Boston, how about Verizon brings free wireless internet to downtown? At the previous subcommittee meetings, the company has said it wants Lowell to be a smart city, it wants to partner with Lowell. Well, when they're providing the cameras and the streetlights, why not have them provide modems at the same time to give taxpayers and visitors free wireless internet and cell phones? We should be able to do this from the Hamilton Canal District right to the Saugus. We have streetlights, parking garages. They can place the fiber right there, put the modems up. Imagine the Lowell Summer Music Series, the Folk Fest, Winterfest, where people try to find a wireless internet. They go in their settings in their cell phone, pops up in the modem, City of Lowell. Then anybody can type in Lowell. Now there's a free wireless network provided by the city. This could also be a major factor for attracting businesses which need secure, reliable, competitive price internet for their operations. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott.
I just made the motion and seconded it.
Yeah. You didn't want to speak on the
No.
motion? Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank Mr. Gitchia for coming in and explaining. He's a wealth of knowledge in this regard, and I've said it time and time again. Our cable rates in the city of Lowell, we are getting gouged, okay? I hear it time and time again from constituents. The cable bill in Lowell is double for the same services as it is in other communities surrounding. It's literally half as much if you leave the city of Lowell for the same amount of services, because we have no competition. That needs to change. That needs to change. So, Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager, Mr. Manager, you've had conversations with Verizon. What can we do to hold them hostage for this without hurting residents and businesses like you've seen tonight? There's got to be a way that we can get them to work with us. I hear it quite often, to be honest with you, and I'm sure you do too.
Quite honestly, we've been negotiating with Verizon for over a year. And, these issues about the fibers, the dark fibers and the canisters and providing FiOS to individual homes has come up as part of the negotiations, and that's not their business plan to do it in that fashion. We've tried to get them to do it. We've talked to them, but this is what the wave of the future is for Verizon, is the wireless. And you're talking about a $6.6 million investment that Verizon is going to be making into the infrastructure of the city, and the service. The increase in the services to the cell phone users and the iPad users in the city is just going to rise significantly. I just thought that at this point in time, and after we had the subcommittee meeting, is based upon their investment and the need for improved service in the city. We negotiated as hard as we could. We reached the fairest, most advantageous deal that we could, and I'm presenting it to the City Council because I just think it's the best deal that we can negotiate with Verizon at this time.
Okay, when you say 6.6 million in infrastructure, was it for Verizon wireless customers, or?
Yes, for wireless customers.
All right, that's not what I'm looking for, but I understand. Okay. With that being said, now this pole here at this field, is this an existing pole, Mr. Manager? This is smack dab in the middle of this ball field.
Yes, the council approved this probably
I know
2 years ago, maybe less than 2 years.
Well, we sent it back. I think it was Council Rook that sent, is this the one or was that the Robinson? Was that up?
Yeah, this is the one at Gage.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Council Rook.
Yeah, that one, we never even made it to the floor.
Another one made it, though. It made it
But the one that we turned back that was the one that was supposed to be right in the middle of the field.
Right, no, we
With the
turned
fence
that-
around it and so forth. This is a different one.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, but this is an existing pole already, so, okay, they're just putting a tandem on the top of the pole. It's barely, not very noticeable. Okay, that was a concern of mine, that they weren't installing a pole in the middle of this green, very precious green space. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Council Leary.
Just, we have Verizon here too. I don't know if one of the representatives could come up. I think the investment obviously is significant, and I think, as Mr. Gitcher said, it is a good thing for Verizon customers. I guess we could really just get an explanation of why wireless instead of doing FiOS. We're getting a lot of the dark fiber, like other technology in some of our apartment buildings that I think Mr. Gitcher outlined, but I think it's a good explanation why, I guess the bottom line is, why is this a good thing to vote for, and are we doing a benefit to our citizens by voting yes on this, or are we not? Are we basically shortchanging them? I think that's a reasonable question to have answered here tonight. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Lee from Verizon, and I am joined here with some of our folks from Verizon Wireless who could answer any technical questions. But we are here to make this investment because our wireless network is really, it does coexist with our wireline network, but it's where all of our growth is. Our wireless traffic over our network over the past 10 years has grown by 250,000%. and it's going to continue to grow exponentially. More than 50% of people have solely wireless technology in their homes, and smartphones, tablets, and also smart parking meters and smart traffic lighting and all kinds of other machine-to-machine technologies that we're starting to implement in our communities are taking up more and more of that broadband. So people will start to, if we don't make this investment, we won't have the quality of service that we enjoy today. And this investment will also bring faster broadband speeds, more advanced technology, and it lays the groundwork for the next generation of wireless technology, where our future is going, and that is more of a, will compete with speeds of fixed broadband that you have today.
A follow-up question. I think Mr. Getcher outlined that the city of Boston is doing this small technology as well, but they're also doing direct access. So I guess the question is, why aren't we having that done in Lowell? Why is that not part of the business plan in the city doing basically what you're doing in Boston at this point?
So the small cell network is connected by a fiber technology, which is good. The more fiber you actually have in the ground, the more densification you have, and you can do more. We are not actually expanding fiber to every single household. Right now in Boston, we are bringing fiber to a portion of the city, to households in a portion of the city, and plan to expand fiber throughout the city over time. But the model really going forward, today that is 2 households, but the model going forward may actually be more of a fixed broadband wireless solution. The technology is changing so quickly that we do anticipate within the next couple of years people will be getting similar speeds and even getting their video cable-like services over a wireless network. That may coexist also with a wireline network.
Just so basically then, just to answer the question, why are you doing it in Boston and not in Lowell? I guess that's just the question we've been going around and around, and I'm prepared to vote on it tonight, but I think that's really the question. If it's happening, I think when we first started this, when I got on, it ultimately was, we don't do this anymore. We don't have Fios. And as annoying as it is listening on the radio as you go down the street, we advertise Fios as the greatest product in the universe, but you can't have it in Lowell because it's not the most advantageous product. But then, we're like, all right, fine, we're ready to make a vote on it, but then we learn that Boston is actually doing this in certain segments. And then we learn in certain segments in our city, like the aforementioned apartments across from the high school, we're actually doing it. So I guess the bottom line is it just because it's just not cost advantageous to do it? Or is there another reason for it? Or is this the technology that in your mind, I'm not going to put the answer in your mouth, but is the technology going to be better doing what you're recommending for the city of Lowell?
Well, first of all, we are bringing Fios to Boston, as you do know, but we haven't expanded beyond Boston. We aren't expanding anywhere else. We hadn't been expanding other places until Boston, which we announced about a year and a half ago, as you do know. The Boston discussion had been going on for many, many years, and it was one of the major cities that we felt we had left out of the footprint, and it just made sense to finish those discussions, and we had the opportunity to do that. However, the technology is kind of changing at the same time that we made that commitment to Boston, and while Boston's going to take 5 to 6 years to build, we're starting to see the implementation of wireless technology in many areas. Right now, we're actually trial testing 5G technology, which is a wireless technology in 11 communities across the country, as close by as Brockton, Massachusetts. They're not commercial trials yet, they're technical trials, but we feel that technology is really going to be the future, and it'll be a lot quicker and a lot easier to implement than bringing a Fios-type product to every single household. Like we are doing.
Just my last question, quicker and done easier, but is it going to be as effective?
Well,
it will be as...
Yes, we think it will be. Of course, the standards aren't out yet, but the goal is that it'll be just as effective and probably more effective going forward.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Councilor Malinowski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I can understand why they're before us tonight to get this, to obviously get this approved, but my question has to do with, is this an agreement or is this a lease? Because again, it says agreement on the front, it talks about the amendments to the lease on the back page, And then under section 21, it talks about tax status, and Verizon verifies that all taxes and municipal fees owing to the city have been paid in full. Going forward, are these cells taxable equipment? Can we actually tax these cells? Because I know a lot of times municipalities, and I'll speak for where I am now in Revere, we actually have Verizon on top of our high-rise buildings, and they pay taxes to the city of Revere. But they're on a public building, but they actually do pay, I guess it would be personal tax? It's not real estate, yeah, personal tax. So do we anticipate getting any tax revenue as a result of this? It's just something that I would throw out there to be looked at. And again, I don't know what other communities are doing. I don't know what Boston's doing. But again, if it's an opportunity, as my colleagues often say, to try to generate some income, we should try to do that, I think. But again, is it a lease or is it an agreement, and can we generate income?
Mr. Manager?
It's a lease. It is a lease, and I know we generate personal property taxes from the utilities, because we were actually involved with a lawsuit that was just recently settled. So I know we do generate some tax revenue on a personal property from these utilities. I will get you the answer on this. I'd hate to say something and it wasn't correct.
No, I wouldn't expect you to.
I will find out.
I'm prepared to vote for it, but I just,
Yeah,
would
it's a
like
good
to-
point. No, it's an excellent point.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor. Council Rook, then Council Samaras.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the Verizon rep. So it does say that, direct interest in improving wireless communications infrastructure in order to ensure the city and its residents. So do you mean the homes, or just residents that walk around the city with a phone that has Verizon service?
This network will improve service for anybody that has wireless technology, whether they're in their homes, because it does bring the network closer and a stronger signal closer to neighborhoods. It will also be people who are visiting the city, working in the city, even public safety, where you have wireless technology in some of your first responders' vehicles. It will benefit everybody who has a Verizon wireless connection.
So internet services to a home, this will take part in that as well?
It will improve service to, well, if you have wireless technology in your home, yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Council Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Now, thank you for your report. But, back to Councilor Leary's questions as to why not FiOS. When you look at all the surrounding communities, Lowell, they have FiOS, okay? You talked about Boston because you were negotiating many years with Boston. Perhaps that's why the decision was made to go into Boston. But the thing is, I can recall my first month on the city council, one of my motions was, getting FiOS in Lowell. And one thing that I was told were many other councilors in previous years asked for the same thing. So as long as I can remember here in Lowell and speaking to other councilors who've been around longer than I have been, there's been a request to have FiOS in Lowell. So basically, it's good for the towns, it's good for Boston, but it's not good for us. It's very hard for us to accept that. You understand? You're not the decision maker in this, and you're talking about FiOS and you're talking about receptivity with the telephones and things like that. But right now, people are faced, because we only have Comcast, very high rates, and they're getting higher, and there's no competition whatsoever. But it's very hard for us to understand why Lowell has been left out, because we've negotiated for many years about this. I would say literally every city councilor has made some type of motion regarding this or some form of this in years past or months past or what have you. So, is there any chance, that there would be some type of competition with Comcast that would allow our citizens to get a decent rate? Because they're not getting it now. And it's very hard to go to our constituents and say, well, there's a corporate decision's been made, this, and this. It doesn't sell. We can't sell it.
We do not have plans to bring FiOS at this point in time, and I do understand the frustration because there are a lot of communities that have FiOS around you, but there are still some that do not, and we didn't get to everybody. So I can understand that. But as the technology evolves and the wireless technology, we're putting more fiber in the ground, where these cantanas are great technology. We're going to have an infrastructure in place to be able to put more electronics and more technology on this as we go into the future that will bring more competitive choice for broadband services and even video services. It might not be exactly how you receive your services today with Comcast, but down the road it'll be a very similar opportunity because video can ride over this network.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Council Belanger, then Council Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know Council Milanazzo had mentioned tax revenue, which is, but is this a misprint, Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager? For this cell tower, an annual rent of $2,400 per year?
That's for a location that this council had previously granted, because at that point in time, that was the market for these canisters that they were willing to sell. So we're going to maintain that amount for that existing lease, but the new cans will be generating less revenue per year than the previous ones.
Okay, so Verizon Wireless's business is up, what, 250,000%? And they're paying us a whole whopping $200 a month for this tower. Wow. And is that what,
No, they're paying,
2,400, that's what I have, 2,400 annual rent of $2,400 for the site.
that's for one that was previously approved by the council.
Doesn't seem like a heck of a lot of money to me, Mr. Manager.
Well,
Services
like I
we're
say,
giving
we
them.
negotiated it as, pardon me? Oh,
It was
6,000?
the one that was approved. Yeah.
Okay. But that was we negotiated this as best we can, and these were the price, that this was the highest price we could get them to do for the canisters.
Well, I find it unsatisfactory. That's me. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Lee.
Sure, thank you. I just want to make a couple of points real quick. So we have been asking for more competition in the city, and that's one of the reasons why, this isn't a perfect deal for the city of Lowell. The other point that I did want to bring up is, we keep improving the wireless, but there's no safety precautions or safety in the industry that we're looking at. I mean, how much is this costing us per year with people texting and driving and getting killed, causing accidents? Every car you look at on the road, probably every third driver is on their phone. So I'm not going to vote for this. I think that we're just moving ahead too fast, we're too reckless. Better wireless doesn't mean a good thing for everybody. It's not safe, and it's particularly just, until we deal with the driving issues alone, we should be slowing down, and people need to be responsible for their actions. This is a billion-dollar industry, but, people are dying every day because of it, so.
And we agree.
And I don't mean to go to the extreme on it, but we just had a big, they were talking about it on the radio the other day. I mean, everybody is on their phone driving around, and we need to deal with that.
And we agree. We certainly don't condone using your technology while driving, and
No,
that
I
is
know,
an
but
issue.
it's
And
latest.
it is something that we have supported through public service campaigns with the wireless industry, and we also support when there's different types of legislation and stuff about hands-free driving and things like that. We agree. We want people to be safe.
Right, but until we really seriously put an effort into that, nothing's gonna change. Thank you.
Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, I know that you and your team tried to negotiate the best that you could, no doubt about it. I did attend the technology subcommittee, and they did talk about a $6,000 per the site, whatever, with the, how many sites how many are we talking about, like 5?
45.
45.
And those
okay.
would be at the lower, the 45 would be at the lower price. But the the existing ones would remain at the higher rent that they agreed to pay previously.
But that's 6,000 for all 45.
It would be 50 times 45, whatever. You're the finance guy, 50 times 40.
Yeah, so let's figure that out, oh, come on, Connor, you should know that right off the top.
It's 2250.
2250.
Per year.
Is it possible that we could just delay this? There's no hurry right now to delay this to see if we could peruse it again, to see if the city solicitor can weigh in, the city, not solicitor, city assessor could weigh in on this, because I'm under the impression and understanding that we do collect taxes from cell towers. And this is, to me, like a form of a situation like that. Is there a way we could check that out? I don't want to vote right now until I'm sure if we've explored all the possibilities. I know you did your best, I understand that, but, they're gonna pay a lump sum of whatever, and we're not gonna get any taxes on this, and I don't...
Yeah, they're gonna pay a lump sum of $20,000, but I didn't say they're not gonna, I can't certify it relative to the tax issue. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, so can we look into that before I can make a decision, because I don't see the rush.
It is my understanding that the small cells are considered taxable under the personal property tax. I just don't know how much it would generate, but.
So you would qualify under that
Yes.
as well?
Yes.
If I could be reassured.
I did check with our tax attorneys a while
If I could
ago.
be reassured of that, that would be the deal breaker for me.
Thank you, Council. Council Rowe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry.
No, after you, Councilor.
Oh, go ahead.
We have a former assessor here, right?
No, like Susan LeMay, right? Oh, he's.
Okay,
the-
Council Rowe has the floor.
Well, I meant Susan LeMay, the.
Go ahead, Council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm going to vote to support it. I think that we're getting a little bit off track. This is beneficial to the city. It's beneficial to the city, the residents, the businesses, the future of what technology is. I think we heard the manager and the reps from Verizon say that this is the best deal possible. I understand the concerns of texting and driving and other things, but I'm not sure that problem lies on the city or on Verizon. I think that if just to think about it, this is nothing but a good thing for the city and its residents. It seems like a little bit amount, but in the end, it's only going to be a better type of technology. We can push Verizon every couple of months to bring, Fios and broadband downtown and to neighborhoods and so forth. And I think as a council, we've done that. We can continue to do so, through motions and through the manager, continue negotiations. But I just think that what we have in front of us now is actually a very good thing. That I think if it slips by, it doesn't come back for a period of time. Is I guess would say it's the status quo, and it's not. I think that we should really take advantage of what we have in front of us now, and support it, which I'm going to do tonight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council Elliott.
Well, I was just going to add through you, Mr. Mayor, to our auditor, who is a former assessor. Are these can antennas, are they considered personal property and taxable? I know there was a bill in the legislature for the longest time trying to allow communities to assess value to these in the past. Can you answer that?
Just to clarify, I presently serve and have served on the Board of Assessors in the town of North Andover. I don't have a position as an actual assessor.
Right.
But again, to kind of put me on the spot here, my assumption would be that they would potentially be considered personal property, but I don't want to put words in Sue's mouth, and I know that there's obviously been other legislation, other tax board issues that have been recently settled that may potentially cause other issues before I want to speak and say, oh yeah, I think we could certainly potentially classify it as personal property.
Okay, could I rephrase it then through you, Mr. Mayor? So in the town of North Andover, do you have CAN antennas installed, and are they considered personal property, and are they taxed?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the town of North Andover does have taxable personal property with Verizon. I can't speak to the specifics of
Okay.
whether it's cable. I believe that they have Fios in the town of North Andover, so that might be a little different.
We do have the small cells deployed in North Andover. We did implement them last year, and from speaking with our tax attorneys at Verizon, they have said that they are considered taxable under personal property tax.
Okay, thank you. And look, I'm going to support on this. I said on the technology subcommittee, we had them in at least one occasion. There was a full deliberation on this, and it is good for the city. I agree with Councilor Rourke that there are some issues with texting and driving that we can't do anything about, but this is going to bring revenue into the city. It's going to bring improved service to those that use it, and I think that's why we're here, to improve the quality of life of people living in the city, whether it's cell phones. Look, Fios, we've been fighting for years, and we should continue that fight because there are still going to be people that use internet and use cable and via Fios. Verizon have been very clear there. It's not in their business plan, which is unfortunate. Maybe another company will come in and be able to develop that, but I don't see any reason to stop this project because of the other that are kind of mutually exclusive. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
No.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
No.
7 yeas.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next item is authorizing the city manager to execute a license agreement at 143 Merrimack Street, an overhanging sign for Lowell Burger Company.
7-3 and 7-4 together, Mr. Mayor. They're both the same company, same address. The votes 7-3 and 7-4.
Yeah, okay. All right, so if there's no objection, we'll bundle both, and the other one is to authorize the city manager to execute a license agreement 143 Merrimack Street for sidewalk seating at 143 Merrimack Street for Lowell Burger Company.
Move to approve.
Okay. So if there's no objection, we'll waive the first reading, and that was the second reading. We have a motion approved by Council Elliott, seconded by Council Rourke. Discussion, Council Milonazo.
Thank you. I'm going to support both votes, but this is not tongue-in-cheek. I want to put a public request out to Teddy Panos and have him invite the owner of the Lowell Burger on his radio show, based upon certain comments that were made that I'm not going to get into the other morning. So I think it would be, to take the high road, I think that Teddy should invite the new owner of this restaurant in for 10 or 15 minutes of fame on WCAP.
Okay.
My comment.
As it happens, I will be on the show tomorrow morning. It's my turn in the...
You can ask him to invite Nick
I'd be happy
Sparrows.
to ask him to do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
Moving on to item 7.6, authorizing the city manager to execute a limited access agreement at 163, 173 Adams Street for the Habitat of Humanity. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading, go to the second reading, authorizing the city manager to execute an access agreement between the City of Lowell and Habitat for Humanity of Greater Lowell Incorporated relative to 163, 173 Adams Street, Lowell, Mass. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion to approve by Council Leary, seconded by Council Milonazo. Discussion on the motion, roll call.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next is a vote authorizing the city manager to execute a license agreement with the University of Mass in Lowell for 60 spaces on Father Morrisette Boulevard. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading And go to the second reading, authorizing the city manager to execute a license agreement with the University of Massachusetts at Lowell for 60 parking spaces on Father Morrisette Boulevard in the city of Lowell. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Council Milonazo, seconded by Council Mercia. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
Next is a vote to declare surplus and convey 700 Dutton Street. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading and go to the second reading, declaring the property at 700 Dutton Street surplus and authorizing the city manager to convey said property to Dutton Real Estate LLC, Mr. Spiro Skinsakos, the property located at 700 Dutton Street in Lowell, and execute all documents necessary for the transfer of the property.
No.
Motion approved by Council Samaras, second by Council Rourke. Discussion, roll call.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next is a vote to transfer the amount of $979,066.50 to PEG Access and Cable-Related Fund. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading and go to the second reading in order to transfer the amount of $979,066.50 in funds from two existing accounts to a newly established PEG Access and Cable-Related Fund. Do we have a motion approved by Council Samaras, second by Council Rourke? Discussion on the motion, roll call.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have under subcommittee reports, the Technology and Utilities Subcommittee, which I think was held over from the previous meeting.
Yeah, and I'll be brief. We
Council Leary.
just did the small cell master lease. We've debated that thoroughly, so we don't need to talk about that. But a big part of what we spoke about is the manager bringing the Markley Group into the technology subcommittee. The Markley Group is working with a company called Network Solutions, which is in the process of going from the Markley facility in Boston, approximately 30 miles from Boston, to the Markley facility here in Lowell, and really bringing dark fiber, which we were speaking about earlier regarding Verizon. What they will be doing in the next 2 years is bringing that technology to Lowell, and it really will it'll enable our innovation district and other parts of the downtown and other parts of the city really to have this technology that we really do need. Lowell will be connected to the Markley International Network, which will really bring other providers, which we're talking about competition, will have that access of other providers in the particular in Lowell. So this is primarily commercial, but it's something that's going to benefit the city as a whole. It'll benefit other innovative companies coming into the city. It's an interesting I guess a twofer. Markley is an interesting company that is a good taxpayer that has come in and rehabbed the Prince Spaghetti buildings. We did, as a council, have a lot of discussion and working with the neighborhood. Hopefully that's becoming positive at this point in time. But now they're adding an additional benefit to other parts of the city that are not in that area. And I think it's something that, looking forward in the next year, 2 years, we're going to have, our innovation district will not only have buildings, but will have the proper technology, and it will be a real innovation district. And that's a report of progress, Mayor.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the report? If not, Chair would entertain a motion to accept the report as a report of progress by Council Leary, seconded by Council Leahy. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, under City Council motions. The first motion of the evening is by Council Mercia, requesting the City Manager of the Property Department replace a sign at Holmes Quinn Bridge. Seconded by Council Milonazo. Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This motion speaks for itself in that the sign is missing and people are concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion is by Council Mercia. Request that the City Manager of the Property Department address the deplorable conditions in the detention center at the Lowell Police Department. Seconded by Council Leary. Council Mercia.
Let's dispel all rumors. I was not down in the detention center, but I do understand from people that previously worked there that it needs to be addressed. And I'm not talking about people coming in damaging the cells. I'm talking about the environment that people work there. Anybody that is working there now never said anything to me. It's people in the past, and when you run into people and they're your constituents and they have a concern, you try to address it, and this is what I'm trying to do with this motion. If we could take a look at it, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion is by Counselor Mercy. Request that the city manager provide a status report regarding vacant building at the end of Alma Street and in the Rosemont section of the city and necessary steps needed to address the situation. Second by Counselor Rourke. Counselor Mercy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The address there is 146, 148 Alma Street, so I forgot to put that on the motion, 146-148. It's been like that in a dilapidated condition for the past 10 years. I think it started around the time the flooding took place down there, and evidently the people couldn't control the mold and everything that was associated with the flooding, and they abandoned it. It is my understanding the taxes are current. The mortgage company is out of New York. The owners, they are hesitant to pay the water bill, but it's put towards the lien of the tax property, and then they decide that they pay it. So it's not the fact that the taxes are due. It's not that at all. But whether they're due or not, the neighbors are very upset to see the new family that moved in. They're the family of raccoons, and they look out the window on the second floor, and I've seen pictures of them. They take pictures. They're not very nice neighbors. It's been open to wildlife. It's not a good thing. So out of fairness to the neighbors, we could get a status report on what the property's all about and what's happening. If we could send a letter to that mortgage company in New York, the treasurer's office has the address. Not that I asked for the address, I didn't, but there is one on file. Let them know that even though they're in New York and they're paying their taxes, neighbors shouldn't have to be looking at property like that. We just had something on the agenda this evening, 44 McKinley Avenue, an eyesore. This is an eyesore to Alma Street, Lafayette Street, the Rosemont section. They shouldn't have to be looking at this. And, you know, maybe we could find another home for the raccoon family, but because they don't belong there. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next motion is by Counselor Belanger. Request that the city manager of the proper department clean up the gateways throughout the city in preparation for the Lowell Folk Festival. Second by Counselor Leary. Counselor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The motion speaks for itself. Thank you.
I was expecting it to go a little further with that.
Getting late, Mr. Mayor.
Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next is a motion by Council Belanger. Request that the city manager update the city council on the Hamilton Canal Innovation District open house held on June 21st. Second by Council Leary. Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, through your motion, back in the spring, an open house was held at the Hamilton Canal Innovation District on Wednesday, June 21st. I was unable to attend, but I understand it was fairly well attended, and a number of individuals or corporations, if you will, took part in the tour. So I'd like to know who took the tour, who attended this open house, and how follow-up has been with DPD, ensuring that the manager and DPD is following up with those who did attend, and to see if we may have any leads as a result. So I look forward. If you want to go for it now, Mr. Manager.
Mr. Manager.
Yeah, I'll just give a brief summary. Kevin Coughlin, who worked closely with the mayor on this, will give a more detail. But the mayor hosted this open house at the 110 Canal Place. We had approximately 70 developers show up for the seminar. We had Jay Ash, for the Secretary of Housing and Economic Development, address the crowd. Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito addressed the crowd. And then I gave a presentation on the infrastructure improvements that we're going to be making in the Hamilton Canal Innovation District. And it went very well. I think probably about a half a dozen people took a tour of the Hamilton Canal District afterwards. And I think another 6 individuals also picked up our packet to be the proposed master developer. So it was a very good open house, and I'll have Kevin give a complete report. And yes, they are following up with the businesses to to make sure that they stay on top of them and hopefully attract them here to the city.
Well, thank you, Mr. Manager. That's a great number, 70 parties, if you will. That sounds great, so I look forward to the response. Very anxious. Thank you.
If I could just add to that, there was also, President Meehan also spoke, and several people from different companies that have recently come to Lowell or have had a Lowell experience were able to tell the crowd how it's been for them. Kronos was one of them, but there were several others. And I do have to give a lot of credit to Kevin Coughlin, who spent a lot of time working with a larger committee of people that are in the community that have some expertise in economic development. They met several times to put the event together, and I think it went very well. And there was one person that approached us, Mr. Manager, recall, looking at a 30,000 square foot building there, and I don't know if there's been any follow-up with them or not, but could you give us a status on that?
Yes, that was an individual that was doing business in Bedford, New Hampshire, and he talked about, after the presentation we made, that he was experiencing so many roadblocks up in Bedford, New Hampshire, that he wanted to come to Lowell. And so I met with, remember Mr. DeAngelis was with him, and I met with him the other day, and we're going to be visiting with this gentleman in the future. So he wants to come from Bedford, New Hampshire to do business in Lowell, so we are following up with him.
Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion is by Council Rourke and Council Leary. Requested city manager look into placing recycle barrels at all Lowell city parks. Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know this is probably a issue you have to talk to Waste Management about because they're recycle barrels, but, you know, in coaching baseball this past spring and summer, I just know that the trash barrels are always filled with, you know, Gatorade bottles or aluminum cans. I know that the DPW crews out there every day emptying them, so maybe if there's a way we could figure out a way to, you know, put recycle barrels out there. I mean, that's just, you know, it obviously benefits the environment and maybe, you know, lessens the burden on the DPW as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Council Leary.
No, complete agreement. You can't add anything else. It's
Okay.
good.
Any further discussion on the motion? Councilor Elliott.
So at Edward Street Soccer Field, there's approximately 3,000 people there. So Gunther Wallenstein was good enough to actually donate, and I'm not sure where he got them from. He got them donated. They are, they're not barrels. We have barrels, so they're actually like a cage. It's a very nicely designed, and people can see. Well, Council Larry knows, he's there every week. So it works. You need somebody to empty those into the recycling bins, but the bins are full and people will use them, and I think it makes sense. People do want to recycle, they just need a place to put it, and if there's only a trash bin there, then that's where it goes. So it's a good motion, and it takes a little bit of work, but people want to recycle.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion is by Councilor Leary. Requested city manager provide an update regarding the improvements to be made on Chelmsford Street.
Just, it speaks for itself, but just, I think we were talking.
Seconded by
Sorry.
Council Leahy. Council Leary.
Thank you.
It speaks for itself.
It speaks for itself. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion is a motion by Council Leary and Council Samaras. Requested city manager provide the status on the RFP for the Hamilton Innovation District. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you. Actually, the city manager in your report on Genesis, I mean, you gave us a great outline, okay? But I think we would like an update as to the possibility of, you know, going out to an RFP for, you know, someone to run the project. The thing is, I think tonight you made some great, you gave us some great information, but perhaps in September, I'd like to have you come before the Subcommittee on Economic Development to really outline what has been happening with the Hamilton Canal area, what's going to happen with the Dutton Street project, and also the infrastructure that will be designed in the Hamilton Canal area. And there obviously is a lot of action, a lot of interest in developers coming into the Hamilton Canal area. So the thing is, the question is, do we need a developer or can the city run it itself? But I think we need that kind of information from you as to how you see the best utilization of the Hamilton Canal area and how we can best set these programs up.
Thank you. Council Leary? Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is by Council Leary and Council Samaras, requesting the city manager work with the Lowell Public Schools in order to determine what their facility spacing needs are and report back to the city council. Just real, Council Leary.
I guess ultimately, we're kind of doing it piecemeal a little bit. I know we're talking about the Elks Club and other facilities. I mean, the school department, as you know, Mayor, and I know almost everybody on this committee has served in the school committee in some fashion. Ultimately, the biggest problem with the budget from the school department is special ed costs and special ed busing costs. So the school department is rightfully trying to bring in those costs in-house. That requires a significant amount of space to do it. It requires other infrastructure and human capital. We also, I think, part of this is really talking about the 1922 and 1898 building, high school, as well as the field house, as well as the 1980 building, and even the freshman academy. It's an old work project building. What are those needs for the public schools? What do they need that space for? Are they going to continue to need that space for special ed or other issues that they may have? The point is, instead of doing it piecemeal, is really coordinate what do you need, and then what we need to do to go out and get those resources. Because I think bringing in more students into the Lowell Public Schools, especially special ed, will not only help reduce the costs, which are significant, but I think it actually will reduce the performance that the students desperately need, which is, again, a twofer. But I think ultimately, let's do it as a holistic approach. What do they really need? Help us with the high school issue, help them with their needs, and ultimately, it'll be a win-win. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Samaras.
Now, Councilor Leary did explain that very well. The issue is, I think we really, as a city council, really have to know what the needs are of the school department. And the thing is, what buildings they need, what they're anticipating for the future, and also, if they're going to give up any of these buildings. I mean, because any building that they have, can be picked up by some developers. So I think it's something that a long time coming. We've, as Council Leary stated, we've done this in a piecemeal fashion. So I think we have to ask the school department to really look at what are their needs, what do they anticipate their future needs, and how can we as a city council be able to deal with those issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion is by Council Leahy. Request that the city manager and the traffic engineer look into placing a 15-minute parking sign in front of 181 Market Street. Second by Council Leary. Council Leahy.
Thank you. Motion speaks for itself. There's businesses over there that need some more foot traffic, some just in and out to pick things up and drop things off. So we should look into a 15-minute spot over there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The last motion of the evening is by Council Leahy. Request that the city manager provide the city council with a financial update for all urgent projects in the city. Seconded by Council Leary. Council Leahy.
Thank you. This motion, if we could just get a rough idea on Councilor Mercier's motion about the police station, what we're doing with the high school buildings downtown, any other firehouses, any other municipal buildings, what's the plan, where's the money coming from, and how are we going to attack it? Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. That concludes the agenda. Are there any announcements? Councilor Mercier.
What would a night be if I didn't make an announcement? But anyway, I have two very brief announcements. The Lowell Farmers Market, sponsored by CTI, began last Friday on July 7th. They're bringing the country into the city. They're at Lucy Lockham Park, 258 Merrimack Street, every Friday up to October 13th, and they are open from 12 noon to 5 p.m. There will be a bus provided for the seniors at the senior center on Friday to the Lucy Lockham Park, so people could take advantage of very delicious fruits and vegetables and handmade goods, and Youth Build will be there. They take credit cards, they take elder coupons, SNAP, EBT, WIC vouchers, so there's all kind of excitement there at Lucy Larkin Park. And my second item is on May 9th, I made a motion to repair the handball court at the North Common and name it in honor of Louis S. Espinoza. We will have an official opening of that this Thursday at 6 o'clock. I just wanted my colleagues to know that, at the North Common.
Right. Thank you, Counselor. Any other announcements? Counselor Leahy.
I think Council Rourke is looking for help for grouting and painting at the burger place, so we can get burgers next week. Thank you.
Okay, anything further?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned by Counselor Rourke, seconded by Counselor Leahy. All in favor, all opposed? Stand adjourned. Did you come back Saturday?